Charles Feuer, Newtown Walk. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'd like to begin by thanking Chief Hearn for all of his efforts that he not only gave in his report, but also at the mid-block crosswalk at Newtown, Yardley, and Tara Boulevard. I continue to see people pulled over, and that's great because this project has still faced delays. I'd like to also thank the person that came from Middletown and emphasize the fact that not only Newtown is looking for a safe walking township, but Middletown is as well. And I think that re-emphasizes the point that we've been trying to make in our efforts to have the mid-block crosswalk addressed and Newtown Trail. I'd also like to thank PennDOT openly and publicly for expediting the Newtown Yardley Tara portion of this project. I've been in touch with them, as I think most of you know, and they not only have expedited at least the portion, the mid-block crosswalk, but they also kept this review process ticket open in light of the last omissions from their comments in order to just quickly get those approved. And I think you heard our Township Engineer say that those changes were made, as well as the additional wish list things, including the traffic light and the stanchion in the pedestrian refuge area. And those things are great, and they do plan on approving this, getting the 2 signatures by the end of this week. And thank you for addressing my questions that I sent in by email. Several questions weren't answered, and I just want to repeat those so that hopefully we can get an answer. And that was, and this was raised in a conversation with PennDOT. Has RVE been developing, number 1, the bid requirements, number 2, the advertising for the bid, and number 3, the construction plan in parallel with their permit plans, which they've had to go through several submissions for? So that's the first question. Has RVE been developing these things so that they're ready to go? And number 2, I believe we heard the Township Engineer say that the submissions for these permits have now been split, because I think I heard the engineer say that the silo part of the project, the bid plan is expected to be submitted, but we know that the permit plan for Newtown, Yardley, and Tara has been submitted and is to be approved this week. It's been my understanding and that of the other people in Newtown that this has been a joint project, both traveling, funded as one. Now I would ask, is that correct what I heard you say?
There are two separate permit plans.
Okay.
For the 2 different locations.
Okay, and that leads to the next question is, therefore, when we get the approval this week, can the advertising and the bid requirements go out by the next BOS meeting? Or they now need to ask you for permission to put them out to bid at the next BOS meeting? That's the next step that requires the BOS approval in this process.
I don't want to get into a long back and forth, but
Yeah, that hasn't changed. I think that's been mentioned quite often.
I think we said
we have to request, just like we did for the sidewalks. We can't put this out to bid without a vote.
That's right.
But we can shortly after the fact that we approve it.
To answer Mr. Feuer's first question,
Yes.
we can start on the bid documents as much as we can at this point. I mean, as we just saw, they just gave us comments that were unexpected just last week. I mean, had we started on the construction plans, we'd be revising them at this point. I don't think the township wants us to spend the time to do that work without getting the approval from PennDOT. So yes, there are things that we can do in the meantime, getting the specs together, getting the front end specs together, but there are things that we need to wait until we get the PennDOT approval.
Which may be coming this week, or shortly.
Which is hopefully coming this week.
Okay.
Right, so, and I think my real question is, and I'll make it very short, are these being treated now as two projects with regard to PennDOT, with regard to the construction plan, with regard to the beginning of construction?
They have been two separate plans since the beginning.
I'm glad you clarified that, thank you. And the last question I had was, if the BOS approves the bids to go out or to be advertised and go out, can this be achieved by the 31st of this month if we get approval permit from PennDOT the end of this week? Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, I'm Al Dufault and I live in Newtown Walk. And I've got a question just to follow up to what Charlie's been asking. When I reviewed the permit plan, I understand there's two areas of responsibility that were given to the township. One was for the tree trimming necessary for line of sight, and the second one was identification of where the curbing was going to be located along the roadway. My question is, will these be addressed, these questions or areas of responsibility from the township be addressed in the construction drawings? And will the construction drawings be available for review prior to going out for bids? So we can look at what the extent of these tree trimming is about, whether it's going to encroach on our private property, and where the curbing is going to be improved. I've mentioned to the board prior to this that I feel there's an unsafe condition between the borough line and the cemetery driveway, requiring, I'd say, an upgrade to the sidewalk and an upgrade to the curbing along that stretch of roadway. So my question is, will these be addressed in the construction plans, and will construction plans be available for review prior to the board supervisors issuing and approving a bid release?
So I got the first question. While I was writing the first question, I missed the
First question was the tree trimming.
Yeah, that was the tree trimming and curbing.
And the second item is the curbing, extent of the curbing which become the responsibility of the township, as identified by PennDOT in the permit drawing.
And there was a question of will the construction plans be available?
Will they be available for review prior to the board voting on the bid document?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good evening, Valerie Mihalek, also from the Newtown Walk community. I would like to thank Jeff Werner for all that he does with covering not only everything in our community, but particularly all that he's been doing on pedestrian safety. Jeff, we really appreciate your time to be a part of this and help us get the word out. I have another article here that I'd like to submit by Jeff Werner regarding Doylestown, and the Doylestown borough area had an incident with a pedestrian accident in a crosswalk as well, and the article is dated July 1st. So just like Kayla, is that how you say your name? Carla said earlier from Middletown Township, this pedestrian safety initiative is not just in Newtown, but throughout the county, as our county attracts more and more people as a destination, and people are not paying attention as they are driving. So I would like to submit this article for review, again, to further our concerns for our mid-block crosswalk and the safety for all who use it. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. We can check the patch too.